Paso Zoo. My name is Heather. I'm an education specialist. And today we have a special treat lined up for you. We're going to be watching a conditioning session with one of our giraffes here at the zoo. And soon you will be meeting Kenny, Abel, and Novi, who will be some of the keepers that you'll be getting to see do some of the amazing work here at the El Paso Zoo. Now, the El Paso Zoo has for many years actively been part of conservation efforts for these animals in the wild. What we have done is we have actually helped supply solar chargers for phones for rangers out in Kenya. We have also provided sponsorship for a movie by National Geographic called Walking with Giraffes. And we have also given money to Giraffe Conservation Foundation, which does contribute a lot to giraffe conservation. So here we have Abel now working with AJ, one of our giraffes. And here's Kenny, who will tell you what is happening here.
Alright, so like Heather said, this is Abel working with AJ, our male giraffe. Now what we're doing is a conditioning session. Now what a conditioning session is where we're rewarding our giraffes with positive reinforcement. That includes grain, lettuce, alfalfa, any treats that he likes. Right now he's a little shy. He doesn't really like too many people around, but he'll come back in a few seconds after he gains a little bit more confidence. So what Abel is doing is using that buoy as a target stick. We're trying to get AJ to touch his nose right to that target stick. You're going to hear Abel blow that whistle, and when he hears that whistle, AJ knows that he did a pretty good job and he gets a nice little treat. Now right now, we have the strap set up. This is so we can do some hoof training. As you can see, Novi is in the corner brushing AJ's hoof with a brush. This is to get any dirt off, any mud off, and a little bit later on we're going to be using a giant nail file to file down some of the hoof. Giraffes in the wild, they'll walk a lot of miles in one day just to get to new trees, to get some more browse and eat some more lettuce. Here at the zoo, they're a little pampered, so we bring them all their browse and treats that they need. So they need a little footwork to make sure their hooves don't get overgrown. So we have these giant nail files, much like the ones you guys have at home, but just about 20 times bigger. And we'll touch their hooves, file it down, make them nice and pretty. It's kind of like a nice little spa day for him. Now, AJ is one of our two male giraffes here. They're both about 12 years old. AJ's birthday is actually next week. So we're going to be having a nice celebration for him with a whole bunch of lettuce, fruits, and vegetables. Now, we do a lot of training here at the El Paso Zoo. This is only one of the training spots that we actually condition our giraffes in. We have strap training just like this to work on their hoofs. We also have a tamer that they go into, and we can give them injections and shots in their yearly vaccines. We also do a lot of conditioning on exhibit. They'll come over for the encounter areas, and we'll have a little lettuce to give to them. The public can actually come and give lettuce to the giraffes once we're open again. So the giraffes really interact with all their keepers. It's a lot of trust building up. Abel here has been in the Africa section for over 10 years now, so you can see that trust he's built up with AJ. A lot of the newer keepers come in, and it takes a long time for AJ to actually trust them. Now right in front of AJ, you see two blocks. That is actually a stand. What we want them to do is once AJ gains enough courage, he's going to lift up his hoof and put it right on that stand, and that way we can get a better leverage to take care of his hoofs. Right now we're working on him to actually figure out that he needs to put his hoof right up on that large stand. So we built a smaller one to kind of increase the odds that he's going to put his hoof on the smaller one, and once he figures it out, we'll get it onto the bigger stand. Now we try to condition all our animals every single day. Like I said, we have a whole bunch of conditioning spots. This is just one way we keep our animals' minds active. We also give them tons of enrichment items. So AJ is very curious. He'll go around and try to smell everything and lick everything. So we have all these enrichment and puzzle feeders for him to try to figure out. We put lettuce in there and all sorts of grain, and it usually takes him a good 20 minutes to get all that lettuce and grain out every day. We give the enrichment items to him about 3 times a day, and we try to shoot for at least having one conditioning session per day, but usually we end up doing 2. AJ is right now about 17 feet tall. He is pretty much full grown. He may only grow a few more inches, but they usually get up to about 17 or 18 feet tall. He is our shortest giraffe at the time. Right now we have Juma, another giraffe. He's outside in another stall playing with his toys. Juma is slightly taller than AJ, but not by much. Now, everyone always asks what's on the top of giraffes' heads. They always think those are horns. They are not horns. They're actually called ossicones. Now, like I said, we do have 2 male giraffes right now. And if you come to the zoo, you probably only see one out at a time. That's because currently they are separated. Since they are about 12 years old, they're hitting breeding age. And male giraffes don't get along very well with one another. And what giraffes do is they actually use those ossicones and they swing their neck back and forth and try to hit one another. And as you can tell from this video, the ossicones look really bumpy, so it could do a lot of damage to other giraffes. So what we had to do is separate our 2 male giraffes. So one giraffe is on exhibit every day. We rotate it every other day. Now, right now we are in the process of actually working with another zoo to try to send out AJ to another zoo and get a female in return. That way we can put more giraffes out on exhibit and we'll have a female giraffe for both of our boys. So I see on the live feed that one of the questions was, why is the giraffe's tongue black? Now the giraffe's tongue is kind of a blackish purple color, and that's so they actually don't get sunburned when they're out in the wild. Wild giraffes, they use their tongue to strip leaves from trees, and they're constantly eating throughout the day, so their tongue is always out of their mouth, so it's that dark color, so they don't get a sunburn. If you come to the zoo later on, once you open up and you see their tongue up close and personal, it's very rough and bumpy. They can actually strip all the bark off of one branch in one go. So they wrap their whole tongue around the branch and just strip all the leaves and bark right off.
Now, Kenny, how do you tell them apart?
So AJ and Juma are pretty similar, but they do have different personalities and slightly different characteristics. AJ here, he's much more confident in conditioning sessions. As you can see right now, he's kind of staring at us, kind of getting the lay of the land. Juma is a little bit more standoffish, and he gets a little bit jumpy. Right now you see Novi down there with that brush kind of touching his hoof. Juma's a little bit more jumpy. AJ trusts us a little bit more, and he really likes getting his hoof worked so they're nice and shiny.
Yeah, now our fan Trey here is actually, I know we answered this a little bit earlier, but I think they just tuned in. If we could reiterate how tall they actually are.
All right, so this is AJ. He's about 17 feet tall. We have another male giraffe. He's around 18 feet tall, so they are full grown. They may grow just maybe a few more inches, but for the most part, this is as tall as they're gonna get. And as you can imagine, housing a giraffe is really difficult, so we have to make these really large barns. Their barn is actually about 30 feet tall, maybe a little bit larger. So if you come to the zoo and you actually look into our upper savanna, the barn's going to be in the far back left. You can actually see the roof over that giant burn back there.
Oh. Now one of our fans named Amber wants to know how long they can actually live up to. How old are our boys right now?
Our boys right now are 17 and 18 years old, so right now that's kind of a tricky question because we have wild counterparts and under human care giraffes. So obviously giraffes under human care can live a little bit longer. So in the wild, giraffes can get up to about 25 years old. Under human care, they can live a lot longer than that. They can reach up to 30, 32 years old. So these boys are still pretty young right now. They have a lot of life left ahead of them. Now, if you do come to the zoo and to get back to the question about how you can tell them apart, AJ and Juma do have some distinguishing characteristics. AJ, if you look at him and all of his brown dots on his body, all those brown dots have a white dot right in the center of it. They actually look like little white pigments right in the middle of those black squares. Juma is completely brown. None of his brown spots have any white pigment in there. He's a lot darker. Alright, so it was going to be wrapping up our conditioning session. We don't want to run these conditioning sessions too long because our giraffes and animals lose focus. So right now we landed on a good point. We got some good hoof work and we got to actually brush off his feet. He's looking nice and clean. So right now we're moving AJ away. He's going to get a nice big reward, get some extra treats for being such a good participant. and we're gonna call it a day. All right, I'll send it back to Heather.
Thank you, everybody, and join us again tomorrow morning at 10 o'clock for another Sofa Safaris here at the El Paso Zoo. Also, you can visit El Paso Zoo home blog so that you can get some sheets that one of our educators is putting together. You guys can continue your adventure at home, do some learning, learn more about what we're doing here at the zoo, and also you can follow our El Paso Zoo Society Facebook page where they're also streaming this, and they have a lot of other information for you as well. Hopefully, we're making your time at home enjoyable and still having you connect to nature. So see you tomorrow morning. Bye-bye. Thank you.